right, awesome. So thank you so much, Doug, for meeting with me. We really just want to talk about your experience. And first of all, congratulations on the approval of the visa. So we're
Thank you.
excited for you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were before, where you're from, or where you were living before you made the
Mhm.
move, and then we'll
Yep.
take it from there.
All right. Yeah, I'm a Canadian citizen from St. Catharines, Ontario. And there I was involved in a couple of different businesses, a licensed realtor, real estate investor, and a project manager for a commercial painting company. And yeah, I was looking to consider moving to the US, and I wanted to find out what all options were available. And that's how through my real estate investing network, I was introduced to Lauren, and that's kind of where it started.
Awesome. So what were some of the reasons why you wanted to move to the US?
So I had often heard of the potential for economic possibility, and I've been operating a couple of different businesses in Canada for a number of years, and I had noticed that the entrepreneurial climate was getting increasingly difficult, and that our margins were getting squeezed, and not to mention I was starting to get a little bit tired of winter. So yeah, so I had started looking beyond borders for that, and Florida had always been a natural choice because we traditionally have kept a family home here for holidays, but during COVID, obviously cross-border travel was very difficult. So then I started looking at what it would take in order to be here more permanently.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we have a lot of people like that. But sometimes people's reasons are a little bit different. Like sometimes
Sure.
weather is number one, other times families number two, number one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. So what was your experience like once you decided to make the move? Do you want to talk a little bit about what was your first step and how did you end up meeting with us and what happened after that?
Yeah, so I had Lauren often offers webinars, so I had tuned into a couple of those, and then I put some time in doing my own research just on U.S. Customs websites and things like that, trying to put together all the pieces and understand a little bit of the process and try to be informed as I looked into getting professional assistance, what I would be needing. And so I kind of came into it, I think, with a good understanding of what to expect. And then I reached out and booked a one-on-one um, with, I believe it was yourself and Lauren. And that was probably around January of 2022. So
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Great. And then after you decided, what made you decide to go through with investing cross borders and Lauren as opposed to other lawyers that you may have had the opportunity to work
sure.
with?
Yeah, so what stood out to me was that Lauren had a very clear understanding of what it was like as a Canadian moving to the US. She had come from Canada a number of years ago, and she had a very strong sense of that and conveyed it to me as a potential client. The other piece that I liked is she never separated the immigration legal side of things from the business entrepreneurship side. And in my mind, they were intrinsically knit. Um, I wanted to be here and I wanted to do business. And that was like very central in my thinking. So I appreciated that from a lawyer's point of view, she wasn't just worried about filing paperwork, but it was also discussing business, and that was beneficial.
That's awesome. So let's fast forward. We found, I know we had a couple of issues with the business. We weren't sure exactly which way to go. But in the midst of all this, how was your experience going through this? And what did you think about the way that Lauren was able to help and advise you during this time that sometimes things happen?
Totally.
um,
Yeah.
but I'm interested to know because people are sometimes a little bit concerned about what if something happens.
Mhm.
So how was Lauren able to help in that sense?
Yeah. So it's true that I didn't have a decided business vehicle to bring um, to the investor's visa at the outset. I had a couple of ideas, but the longer we explored them, the less confident I personally felt in the direction that was available. And I just wanted to make sure that whatever I was going to put my energy into, I felt very confident about it and I believed in it. And so Lauren was very patient. I give her credit for that. Like, she was understanding and wasn't trying to squeeze me in, a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. She said, okay, like if you have an idea and if you want to do something, that's fine. And because of my background in construction and particularly coding application, we had started to lean towards that for simplicity's sake, kind of go with what I know. Um, and we had contemplated a franchise, but what I found was that because of my experience having already begun a paint contracting business in Canada and then been actively involved as a project manager for one, I was able to, from my resources, pull together a lot of the baseline information that we needed. And then Lauren's team, who worked on the business plan, did a great job of filling in the American equivalent of what my Canadian experience brought. So that made it possible that we were able to offer up a business plan that I thought adequately and honestly reflected what I was capable of and that I was confident in.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. So that's awesome. I'm very interested in your story in particular because I think that it wasn't always nice and smooth when it comes
No,
to not just there's a lot of things that come into place when you're finding the business, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's glad to hear that, we were able to help in that regard, because other people don't do that. It just
No,
find a business. Once you have the business, let us know and we'll help you. So that's
sure.
something important. So that's great, Doug. So ultimately, how was the whole experience as a whole? I'm gonna just mute myself for a few minutes and you can just speak about your experience,
Yep,
and then we'll take it from there.
good. Yeah, it was generally a very enjoyable experience working with Lauren. A few of the things that stood out to me were her availability. She would make the point to communicate very quickly. I've heard from other friends that have gone through this process with their lawyers that was not the case. So yeah, her accessibility and availability was extremely helpful. She did give good advice on a variety of different topics, even things that were perhaps a little outside of the immigration and the business side of things. She did have some insight into some other matters, helped me with a health insurance connection, as well as just some advice surrounding some of the educational requirements for my kids and things like that. So she just had some experience that was evident and helpful nature that let me kind of work through some of the bugs that were there. Yeah, so those were all really positives. I also found that she was very patient with the process and understanding. We did end up being on kind of a tight deadline in the end, and she made it happen, and that was much, really greatly appreciated. And I actually liked her strategy of utilizing specific professionals, other lawyers that have like very detailed knowledge. So the immigration filing was actually done by another office, and I appreciated that because they were very precise on what was current. Um, and that's all they were concerned about, is how to get the filings done. And then same thing with the business entity. That lawyer was beneficial in terms of structuring the business in such a way that I think it's going to be good for me long term. So yeah.
That's awesome, Doug. Thank you so much for getting on this call. Is there anything
You're welcome.
else that you wanted to share that I should have asked and I didn't ask?
I don't think so. It was generally all around a great experience. So yeah, I'm very
Great.
appreciative of Lauren's help.
Awesome. We're so excited for you that you're finally here in Florida, enjoying this weather in the winter in November. So if there's anything else that we can do for you, we're always available, and we definitely thank you. You have been amazing. You already referred another client who we love them as well.
Yes.
So thank you, Doug, and I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mary.
All right, take care.